Yeah.
I haven't had dairy in about 20 years. To
Yeah.
be honest,
Okay.
probably 20 years.
So you're lucky you're even able to function before. I'm just kidding. No, no,
So
no.
what you're saying is I'm broken. I really am broken. She's saying I'm broken, Sean. All right, I am so excited. First of all, I want to show you this is the thing that is changing my life. You see it right here. It's called Fatty 15. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. When I first got it, I was skeptical like everybody else. I met this fantastic couple that told me all about it, and we'll get to her in a second. But I started taking it, and in about 2 or 3 weeks, I started feeling great. And I'm not lying, Sean. This is true. I started feeling great. And I was like, okay, is this a mental thing? Is this me taking something going, I feel good because I think this is working? And then I asked them for another bottle, and I feel really great. It's been 2 months, almost 2 months. I feel really great. And I was like, like I don't want to promote a product that I don't believe in. So what I want to do is actually bring the person that helped create it so they can tell you, because I want everybody to do their own research, so they can tell you why they feel this is working for me. And Dr. Steph Venn-Watson is here. How are you?
Hi, Michael. It's great to be here. Boy, I enjoyed that.
No,
That
let me
opening.
tell you, because I like to be transparent on my show. Like, there's an opportunity where I could have been a endorser of the pill, and I was like, no, because I rather enjoy it and people to hear this message without me making money attached to it, because I think that's more authentic. I think that's more raw. And literally, after I finished my first bottle, I was like, I need another one because I got to see if it's this. And then I remember talking to you and going, okay, is this the reason why it's working? And if it is, please, let's start from the beginning. Tell everybody what Fatty 15 is.
Yeah, absolutely. So Fatty 15 has just one ingredient in it, Michael, and it's called C15. The fancy schmancy word is pentadecanoic acid, but we'll just stick with C15.
Now,
And it's an odd chain saturated fat that was initially discovered for its benefits for myself as a veterinary epidemiologist while I was caring for older Navy dolphins. Best origin story ever, and thrilled that it's helping hundreds of thousands of people, including you.
how'd you even find this in dolphins? You were researching dolphins. How did this all come about?
Right, so there I was, as a non-swimming veterinary epidemiologist working for the Navy with dolphins. The Navy they've had a population of bottlenose dolphins. They've cared for this population of about 100 dolphins, Michael, for over 60 years. They live in the open ocean, go out into the open ocean every day. Every day they choose to come back. So really amazing population here in San Diego. And I was recruited by the Navy about 24 years ago to help continually improve the health and welfare of older Navy dolphins. So it ends up dolphins in the wild live to about 20. Dolphins in the Navy are living into their 40s and 50s, with two dolphins this year turning 60 years old.
Now, why is that?
Yeah, good care. So if you kind of think about it, and if you see any like nature shows these days, like the wild is not like an ideal place
No, the
anymore, right?
wild is wild.
It's
The
like
wild
it's
is
wild.
wild.
It's
Yeah.
wild. It's wild. And so, they get really good care. They have a good healthcare program. They are provided a reliable diet. They get to exercise. So they have a healthy, reproduction system, whole like ability breeding program for a long time. So it's just they're taken care of really well. And we were finding out that there's a specific nutrient in fish that was helping as we were seeing these older dolphins. We were seeing about 1 in 3 older dolphins were developing things like chronic inflammation and high cholesterol, and even the full suite of changes consistent with Alzheimer's. And so we were able to go in, Michael, because this is such a clean population that's all living in the same environment, to use this advanced technology called metabolomics that allowed us to look for thousands of small molecules and see which small molecule present in the dolphin's blood, but also in their all fish diet, which molecule predicted the healthiest aging dolphins. So that's where this whole work was done, to help the dolphins.
So 1 out of every 3 dolphins are aging like us, basically
Yes.
having the same problems that we're having. Now, why did that dolphin have it and the other 2 didn't?
Yeah, and that was the question, right? So it's like, okay, let's figure out because they, in humans we're such a mess, right? There's so many confounding factors of what our lifestyle is, what did we eat last week, and how we grew our socioeconomic status. So because the dolphins were so clean, we were able to, evaluate all these molecules. And what we found was that the dolphins that had the highest amount of C15 in their diet and in their blood were the ones that did not that were protected against this, and the dolphins that did get these diseases had the lowest amount.
So why did these dolphins have low amounts? Is it just like people, some people are just lucky in genetics, or are other dolphins taking better care of themselves than other dolphins? Like,
Right.
what is it?
Yeah, it was smoking. I'm just kidding.
Smoke.
We had night cams, and we caught
I
caught,
love it. They were just smoking
we
with
caught the
they
dolphins
were,
smoking at night.
now they're vaping. The
Yeah.
dolphin.
So so back in the 1990s, the Navy, there are 5 different types of fish that the Navy provides the dolphins. And so up until the mid 1990s, all the dolphins got this super fatty fish called eulicon. And these
Mhm.
fish were so fatty that you could dry them, stick a wick in them, and light it up as a candle. So they were actually called candlefish. They were
Okay.
chock full of C15. So that fishery died out in the 1990s. So then they had to replace it with other fish. So what happened was the 5 types of fish the Navy dolphins could get, some of them were choosing the 2 types that still had C15 in them. But if they were more likely to choose the other 3 types of fish, those fish had no C15 in them. So that's how some dolphins were getting higher C15 versus not. Just like based upon, even within this limited diet choice, they were all still fish. We were able to ferret out, C15 as the predictor of healthier aging dolphins.
You also, I was watching some of your material as well, like especially the TED talk you did. You
Oh,
said that C15 is the first essential fatty acid discovered in over 90 years. What exactly does that mean?
yeah, it's kind of a big deal, right? So
Yeah.
so we once we made that discovery in dolphins, it was association, right? We associated high C15 with better health. But what you really need to do is you got to go move that molecule, that nutrient into the lab and do a bunch of studies to show that it's actually causing the benefit. So we worked with the leader in fatty acids. His name is Dr. Ed Dennis. He's was editor in chief of the Journal for Lipid Research for 15 years. And we came up with a list of here's studies we need to do to help answer the question. So we did 8 studies over 3 years. And at the end of it, Michael, we published in Nature Scientific Reports, not only is C15 an active and beneficial saturated fat, by the way, but it was meeting these rare criteria of being an essential fatty acid, just like you said, the first to be discovered in over 90 years. And it's a big deal because there were only 2 discovered previously by Dr. George and Mildred Burr back in 1929 and 1930. Essential means it's a nutrient that our bodies must have in order to maintain our baseline health. And if we don't get enough of it, we have found that we'll fall apart and actually develop what's called cellular fragility syndrome.
And what is cellular fragility? What is that syndrome?
Yeah. So one of the core rules of C15 is it's so simple, right? It's a sturdy fatty acid that goes into our cell membrane. So every one of our cells is coated by a cell membrane. And so C15 goes into that cell membrane and serves as like bricks or armor just to keep our cells stable and resilient. And it literally helps species live longer. So if we don't have enough C15 in our diet, we don't have enough C15 in our cells. And as a result, that cell membrane starts to fall apart. So much so that there was a whole new way back in 2012, researchers at the University of Columbia discovered an entirely new way that our cells were dying. And now it's because of of cellular fragility syndrome.
So what is the difference between C15 and omega 3 and omega 6?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would say they're kind of like a yin and yang situation. So an the omegas, we'll put the 3 and 6 together.
Hmm.
Omegas are fatty acids, just like C15, but omega 3s or the omegas are called polyunsaturated fatty acids. So that might be
Hmm.
a familiar term. And polyunsaturated, if we're going to nerd out on structure a little bit, that the structure of polyunsaturated fatty acids means that it has a bunch of carbons that are connected with double bonds. And the double bonds make the molecule flexible. That's why they're oils at room temperature. But it also are like, think of them as hinges or weak spots where oxygen can attack it. And when oxygen attacks those double bonds, it goes rancid. So we know that if you leave oil out, right, in
Hmm.
oxygen, it'll go rancid. That's why it's those double bonds. So their job is to go into our cell membranes and help make them flexible. But we don't want too much because we need to be able to counter the attack by oxygen. So the yin, the yang is C15 comes in. It has no double bonds. So it goes in and serves as, again, as these bricks or armor that then allow it with no double bonds. No, and so is completely resistant to attack by oxygen. So it helps stabilize the cell. So they work together.
Okay, they work together, but that was a lot of scientific talk. And just normal speak, why is one? I know they're supposed to work together, but in normal speak, what's one do that one doesn't do? Then I
Okay,
guess.
so C15 helps to stabilize and strengthen the cell,
Okay.
especially as we age. The omega 3s make them more loosey goosey and less stable.
Okay, so
How about
that's what I needed to know right there. That's what I needed to know.
You could
That's
just
what I need.
cut. You could just cut out all that other stuff.
Oh no, no, no! I like it for the because I'm sure a lot of people are going to watch this pod, and they want to know that side of it. But me, I'm like, okay, I didn't understand any of that, but I sat here and listened to it like I did. Right? I was good on that. Thank you.
I thought you were leaning in on
Oh,
that one.
oh
So.
yeah, yeah. I'm great at leaning in at stuff I don't know because people are like, oh, he knows, but I have no idea. But the second thing you said, fully on board, fully on board. Was
Okay.
there a moment? Oh, well, for my one question I got, and I got this from Sean, I got this from Rudy. People, where does this C15 come from? Are
Right.
you, are you, knocking off dolphins to get this C15?
No, we're not.
Okay,
And we do get that question sometimes. So the dolphins get their C15 from certain types of fish. So we talked
okay,
about that. So but it's mainly in the skin and the heads of certain types of fish, which we don't tend to eat a lot of.
yeah.
As humans, our primary source of C15 by far is dairy fat. So, if you're looking at whole fat milk, butter, especially from cows, goats, or sheep that are eating grass. So, grass fed animals have twice as much C15 in their dairy fat than those that are fed corn. So, that's been our primary source. But what have we taken out of our diet since the late 1970s? Whole fat milk,
Milk and butter.
butter. Yeah, and
Yeah.
hence the deficiency, this deficiency syndrome kicking in.
So are you just taking butter and putting it in a pill? Like what?
Oh,
Where?
yes, right, right. So that is right. So then the Navy, right? So the Navy came back and said, hey, they challenged us, right? And the Navy said, can you come up with a way to have a pure C15 that isn't mixed with a bunch of other competing pro-inflammatory fats, that isn't in milk, that isn't in fish, that we could control and give and provide, right, as a supplement. And so we accepted that challenge. And so we developed this pure C15 molecule that you just held up, and it's this beautiful white powder, right? It has no smell, no taste. And we make it by taking pure C14, which comes from plants, and we add a carbon onto it to make C15. And that means it's pure. It's free of any and all contaminants, and it's vegan friendly. So yeah.
I make the face.
I make the sound. A lot of great playoff games are happening, and I've teamed up with DraftKings because for new customers, if you spend $5, you'll get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app today. Make sure to use my code YOBET. That's YOBET. The crown is yours!
Okay, so explain to me, not scientifically, but normal, why am I feeling better? Like, what is this
Yeah.
doing for me?
Yeah. So the intent, so, obviously we're the cell strengthening thing is really important to protect us against age-related breakdown, right? So that is
Mm.
like the core thing that C15 does. However, I'm going to say one science word and then I promise I'll stop.
Okay.
Okay. It's a pleiotropic nutrient, which means all it means is it does a bunch of stuff, Michael. So probably every 3 weeks, there's a new paper coming out on C15 from teams throughout the world. And so we, as well as others, have discovered that C15 also targets certain pathways that are relevant to our brain health. So for me, I started sleeping deeper. I was in a happier mood and a calmer mood, and so I was feeling like better energy during the day. And when this first started happening, I was like, what's same thing. I thought this is a placebo effect. And then
Yeah.
people, we now have a 70% of people report feeling better within 16 weeks. We now know that it actually helps does three things. It targets receptors in our brain that help to keep our dopamine levels higher and helps to keep our endocannabinoid levels better. So we have
Hold
these.
on. Hold
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
Endocannabino, whatever you just, what is that?
So we know cannabis, right? So we
Yes.
know the term cannabis. There was a hunt was on. It wasn't that even that long ago, but the hunt was on for like, how does cannabis work, right? It's been used by humans for thousands of years.
Yeah.
So, but nobody knew how it worked. So they went and hunted for these things called receptors in our body to figure out what was cannabis targeting to create these happy feelings, right? This
Mm.
bliss. And so they found the receptors and they're called cannabinoid receptors. And so you could probably guess that we didn't evolve as humans to have these receptors to have cannabis, right? That
Yeah.
wasn't because dogs also have these receptors, as do dolphins. And I've never seen a dog like well, maybe they can now get cannabis, I guess, but
Yeah.
not a typical thing. So the big question is, why do we have these receptors in the first place? And it ends up our body can make what's called endocannabinoids. Our body can make their own cannabis, basically, to
Ah.
target these receptors. And that's why we have the receptors. It ends up our bodies use C15 to make only the second ever discovered molecule to fully activate these receptors. So it
Okay.
helps with pain, sleep, mood, all of that.
Am I jumping the gun on this saying, because you said about 16 weeks, but between when they start in 16 weeks, they feel a difference. I honestly felt it after like 3 or 4 weeks. Am I jumping the
Mhm.
gun? Is this placebo or is these really could be the pills for me?
No,
Yeah.
that's real. So about half of our customers report feeling benefits within 2 weeks. So, and to be honest, once you take it, when it's this receptor targeting mechanism, once you take it, your body absorbs it, your blood levels go up, and that could be felt within days, right? Go up, targets the receptors, ooh, I feel better, and then, that happens every time that you take the pill.
So, like I'm saying during this podcast, I'm not sponsoring this. I'm just telling you what it's doing for me. There'll be a link in the description if you want to get it. I make no money off of it. I refuse to make money off something that helps people.
Oh.
But I do want to ask this: is this heading towards one day you go to the doctor and they're like, you're low in C15. We need to give you a prescription for that. Could this lead to that one day?
You're so smart. Yes. So that's it's starting to happen already. So we actually started having physicians coming to us, Michael. So we launched this back in January of 2021, right? Sold out within 6 weeks. We it's won numerous awards. It's gotten lots of accolades, and so the goal for us has always been, we spent 10 years doing the science before this even came to the
Mhm.
market. So 10 years of science. We wanted credibility. The second pillar was awareness. Hi, that's you. So helping to increase people's awareness of this molecule and what it's really doing, the science behind it. And the third is accessibility. So our job now is really, we're working with physicians who are saying, I am seeing meaningful changes in my patients. The science supports it. There have been 2 clinical trials showing that it has benefits. So now clinicians are actually able to test people for C15. It's usually in, like, when you ask for a fatty acid panel
Yeah.
for omegas, more and more of those panels are including C15.
You talked about panels and doing blood work and things like that. Let me ask you this. Say you're on this for like 6 months, a year.
Mhm.
Will this show up in like a blood test? Will anything change in your blood test?
Yes. So more likely than not, but you have to be broken. So it's not, it fix things that are broken. Not that you
Okay,
have
gotcha.
anything broken. I'm not
Yeah.
saying, not
I'm
saying that.
I'm not broken at all. So
Yeah. Well, I saw your
this thing is working wonders on a person that's not broken. So congratulations.
So, for the most common outcomes that people will see and share with us, and also shown in clinical trials, are lower liver enzymes. So, there are about 1 in 3 people have fatty liver disease these days, and so we're seeing an increased prevalence of raised what's called liver enzymes, and they see those liver enzymes go down, and that means the liver is functioning better. They're seeing better glucose control, which is a huge thing, lower inflammation, and another big one is lower LDL cholesterol. So those are the most common for red blood cells, because it does strengthen our cells. People who have signs of suboptimal red blood cell health, then they see their red blood cell indices get better too. So it's and that's why the physicians, right? The physicians want to see that. They want to see blood results, have a meaningful result on that front, and that's what they're seeing, and you're reading in the literature too. So
Okay.
it's good.
I stopped drinking coffee. I had so much energy. I don't know what it is. I stopped drinking. I'll have like just a shot of coffee. I was doing like 5, 6 shots of coffee
Ooh.
a day. A day. I was an addict. Talk about a coffee addict. I was an addict. I started taking this and drinking green tea at the same time. Or no, matcha latte.
Yeah.
At the same time, almond milk. Thank you so much. I started drinking that, taking the pills, and literally my consumption of coffee has gone down tremendously, where some days I go without even drinking coffee. I'll just drink like a little matcha, and I was addicted to coffee, where before matcha wouldn't do anything with me. But since I started taking this,
Yeah.
it's like I have more energy too. Could
Yeah.
that be because of this?
It can.
It
So
can.
yeah. So and a lot of people report that too. They'll say, I have, I'm getting a better, deeper sleep during the night, and
Yep.
I'm waking up ready to go. Like, and I have energy throughout the day. It's just a healthier. It's not meant to be like it's not like taking a hyper dose of caffeine, right? It's just like it's a healthy, even energy throughout the day that's sustained. And part of the reason for that, part of it is triggering those, keeping those dopamine levels, healthy
Yep.
is really good. But also, with regard to it, also helps to activate and repair mitochondria. I don't know if you remember from like 3rd grade, where you had to make the models of the cell. It's the powerhouse of the cell was the mitochondria.
Mm-hmm.
It helps feed and repair mitochondria, so the batteries of our cells work better. Studies have shown that translates to not only better energy in the cell, but better energy in our whole bodies. So that absolutely could be attributed to your,
Okay.
especially if do you drink dairy, or do you eat much
I
dairy?
don't drink dairy at all. I drink
So
like almond milk. It's not dairy. I drink. I want like. Here's what's interesting. I was going to ask you this,
yeah.
but this is the question I had you the day I met you. and we talked. I go, this is vegan, but it is like dairy, right?
So it doesn't, we were able to get around the dairy thing. So where we, yeah,
Okay.
so
Because
and that was another challenge at the Navy. They're like, can you make it vegan, make it dairy free? Like, we
oh,
want,
okay.
yeah.
So yeah,
So
because I
no dairy.
remember because this is the confusion I had when I first got it. Because I remember talking to you, and you go, "Well, we lose C15 because of dairy and butter.
Yeah.
We cut that out of our diet." So I go, "If I take this pill and I'm lactose intolerant, will it mess with me?" And you go, "No," but I really never. We just met for a quick second, so I didn't really understand. But now, okay.
So then, Michael, because of
Plant-based.
that, you are likely, previously, you may have been C15 deficient, right?
I haven't had dairy.
Yeah.
I haven't had dairy in about 20 years.
Yeah.
To be honest,
Okay.
probably 20 years.
So you're lucky you're even able to function before. I'm just kidding.
So what you're saying is I'm broken. I really am broken. She's saying I'm broken, Sean.
But not
I am
anymore.
broken. I just didn't know I wasn't broken.
You just didn't know. No, I'm just, all kidding aside. Really good chance your C15 levels were low, right? And so for you to feel that immediate benefits, think about like a sponge. You're dry, not saying you're a dry sponge, but then you just poured water and it's just like, oh, all of a sudden your cells are like, oh, I've got my C15.
Okay.
And everything gets to kick back in.
Will I hit a plateau on this then?
It's usually plateau as in I feel better and I'm staying better versus
okay.
Yeah, like you're not going to be able to like lift cars or stuff.
No?
In 6 months.
Wait, but it says that on the bottle. It said I'll be able to run faster than a speeding bullet.
Yeah,
leap buildings in a single bound. That's okay. Anyway, all right. I want to talk about your book that's behind you right now, the longevity nutrition, right?
Yeah.
Nutrient,
yeah.
Longevity nutrient. Now, the reason why you wrote this book, is it because public awareness? A lot of scientists want to write a book, credibility, like, hey, I did this, I want you to see it. Or are you looking for more of, hey, all you people in health, maybe the government, we need some changes over here. What was your main reason?
Yeah, it's the third. So it was not typical way that this went down, right? So I have a blog where every week I share C15 science on what people are publishing around the world about C15. And so I was reached out to by Simon and Schuster, and an editor said, hey, I've been reading your blog for a year. You need to write a book about it, and we'd love to help you do that. So I said yes, but I said it was really funny. I'm like, but it's not done yet. Like the science isn't done. And they just started laughing, and they're like, yeah, it's never going to be done. But they said, how many papers are there on C15? I'm like, well, over 100. And they're like, okay, if you ask 10 people, have you heard of C15? Probably 10 people will say no. So
100%,
right?
100%.
Right. So they're like, so there is so much there that you need to get the book. And they asked what my goals were, and our goals were, again, it's so important. If we're talking about 1 in 3 people are C15 deficient, that this deficiency is causing a form of cell death that's accelerating aging. And Michael might be explaining why we're seeing the rise in heart disease and type 2 diabetes, fatty liver disease, and certain types of cancer in younger and younger people. People born since the 1990s, when milk was taken out of even like infants' diets. Then the urgency is like, we've got to be, like you're saying in that third option, we have to be talking about it. So the book was really meant to put all the science into one book in a hopefully approachable way, enough to say you can't explain it away anymore. It's not just our science, and the Navy science, it's the world's now. And we have a chance to fix it. Because if you have a deficiency, like vitamin C deficiency and scurvy, and vitamin D deficiency and rickets, I mean, you can fix it. I just said golly. Yeah. You can fix it.
You can fix it, golly. Golly, you can fix it.
I just like went back to the 1930s. So
Sean, you got a question?
I just want to summarize real quick. So the study was on dolphins. You saw how it was affecting them, and then we decided to replicate it for, I guess, human consumption because that's something that we need as well too. So it's plant based, and then you guys added a carbon. My only main question is it for all ages, or is there like a certain age that your body has to develop to in order for you to start taking this supplement?
yeah, that's a really good question. So right now it's approved for 4-year-olds and up, right?
Oh
So
wow.
that's good. And it's also approved for women who are pregnant. And in fact, it has been approved. We actually go through a third party to review the science and approve our claims because we are all about science. That it actually supports healthy pregnancies. So it's approved for women who are pregnant and nursing because there's studies showing that the more C15 mom has, the more C15 is in her milk, the more C15 baby gets, and the healthier that baby grows and develops. So for our youngest ones, they can get C15 from mom as long as mom isn't C15 deficient. So we're now working on filling that gap for the babies to the 4-year-olds.
Okay, I got to ask this. Any side effects?
No, we haven't. We track, when people call it or say, I'm feeling this, and it coincided with when I took the supplement. And interestingly, no, there's none that are clearly associated with
Okay.
the supplement. Yeah.
If someone were to read the book, what is the one thing? Because a lot of people, they skim through books, they don't fully read it. If there's one thing the people that read the book could take away from that book, what's the one thing you would want it to be?
I would want them to know about the broken generation that what I had just described with regard to the urgency behind this. We've got to get C15 back into our diets in a healthy way. It can be through foods. This is really meant to be a supplement in the true frame of the word. It's meant to supplement our diet. It's not the only solution, it's part of the solution. So we've got to look at our agricultural practices. We need to look at dietary guidelines. We said to take out all saturated fats, and oops, except for there's a good one. So that is the most urgent. And then the most uplifting part of it is just seeing how many ways this super simple molecule is positively impacting life. So there's a chapter called How C15 Can Save Your Life, and the science in that chapter is just mind-blowing from other groups.
So let's say someone couldn't get this pill and they're lactose intolerant and can't do butter and they can't do dairy. Is there a way to get C15 that's safe, like by food? Any other food? Or
yeah, so there are a few things you can do. You can choose if you eat dairy, then you can get grass-fed. Choose grass-fed butter, high quality. They don't always tell you if grass-fed as far as with regard to if the cows are grass-fed for milk, but they usually will tell you that for butter. Sardinians kind of figured it out, Michael. So Sardinians actually have C15 levels that are 2 to 3 times higher than the rest of us if you don't have supplementation, and they don't have fatty 15 there. So yeah. they are using they have local sheep and goats that they herd, and the sheep and goats eat high altitude grass, which it ends up, that combination results in the highest C15 content cheeses. One of those cheeses is called pecorino. So pecorino cheese is a good way to get C15. Another is when we eat fiber, that fiber will feed microbes in our gut, and our microbes will make some amount of C15. So we can boost it that way. And the last tip is exercise, because you can't have a health podcast topic without talking about exercise. But when we exercise, it actually releases C15 from our bodies, and we get to enjoy the benefits of that.
All right. Well, thank you so much for the time. Fatty 15, where can they get it? Amazon, or where do they buy this from?
Yeah, so at fatty15.com, that's where you can find us. You can learn about us. It's on Amazon as well. So the book's available.
In the book as well.
Wherever books Amazon? Are sold. Yeah.
Wherever books. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Oh, such a pleasure, Michael. Thank you.
I appreciate you guys. And honestly, all the info will be right below. Like I said, I'm not making a dime off of it. I like to bring you stuff that really helps me out. So Fatty 15, it did it for me, and all the info in the description. Have a great day.
Bye. Thank you.